Welcome to
Brilliant.
Bon Jovi Discussions. I have my buddy Dermot from Dublin. How's it going, buddy?
I'm got very, very good. Very
Very
good.
well. Before we get into it, because I'm very excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today. But before I do, I always like to ask my guests, how did you become a Bon Jovi fan?
It was in 1985 when I was 17. I basically been a fan of Def Leppard since 1983, and then obviously other bands like Night Ranger that year, Rainbow before that, like 81, 82. So I'd heard She Don't Know Me and Runaway from the first album on a radio station in Dublin, like a pirate radio station. So then I saw the band performing In and Out of Love on the Old Grey Whistle Test in the UK on BBC Two one night. And then I'd heard In and Out of Love. So I went and bought the 7,800 Degrees Fahrenheit album on vinyl. And then, of course, I saw they broadcasted the Japanese concert, which went out onto video, 5 songs from that on BBC Two on another program, like a couple of weeks later in the summer of 85, around the time of Live Aid, actually. So I was really impressed with the performance. Show John doing Breakout and In and Out of Love and Runaway and two other songs like Hardest Part is the Night. And you know what I mean? It was. So that excited me to go out and actually get the first album, which I got a couple of months later, which I thought was a stronger album. I thought the songs they were more catchy because I felt the second album they got a little bit heavier. But for me, Price of Love, Only Lonely, Tokyo
Oh,
Road really stood
yeah.
out. In and Out of Love, Silent Night was a good song as a ballad, So, but so started from there, and of course, then in '86, going in and buying Slippery When Wet when it came out on vinyl originally back then. And they didn't play Ireland on that tour on the Slippery When tour because they'd already been touring the UK from '85 on the Fahrenheit tour, and '84 they supported Kiss, and so
Which
John
is
was
something I would have loved to have. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
That would have been something
yeah,
I would love to have seen, but carry on.
yeah. So John went and opened the New Jersey tour in Dublin because he knew he had a fan base here. So he opened and I went both nights. It was my sister's very first concert, actually. First night when he opened up and lay your hands on me and he had his long coat on him with New Jersey and had a Halloween mask on the back of his head because it was Halloween night. So he opened up and he shot up from beneath the stage and Richie appeared with his 12-string guitar and Alec John such. Richie was always kind of on the right hand side of the stage, Alec on the left, Dave on the keyboards behind him, and then Tico banging because you could see Tico was the first person who appeared on the stage banging the intro bit, and straight
Wow.
into You Could Love a Bad Name, into I think it was Runaway, then Wild in the Streets, then it went into Homebound Train. I actually
Wow.
have the bootleg of the second night because I came back, I got a ticket for the second night, and Joe Elliott appeared in the encore with Boys Are Back in Town. He did Wanted, Boys
Yeah.
Are Back in Town, and then finished with Bad Medicine. And
Wow.
obviously, I got to meet Lita Ford because she was signing her album in Dublin in a music shop in
Wow.
Virgin Megastore, which was owned by Richard Branson and HMV. So practically, I had her album. I went in, I got it signed, and I have some photographs of her from in the music shop from then.
Wow.
Actually, my sister was with me. She came in because she's younger than me. So
That's
yeah,
awesome, man.
yeah,
Was she nice?
yeah. She was very, very nice. So I love your album. Oh, thank you very much. Like yeah, no, and John actually was on the day before on a music show on RTE, which is our one of our music channels. He was on a music show called The Beatbox, and he did an interview with the guy presenting it, and Lita Ford was on as well before him.
Wow.
So he did a great interview. He said he was really looking forward to playing to coming to Ireland. He says he loved U2 and Tin Lizzy and kind of
That
that
is
kind of thing. You know what I mean?
really cool, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Well, let's get into our topic, man, because
yeah,
I've ever since we started talking about this, I've been looking forward to this chat. We are going to talk about Wild as the Wind, which is one of the biggest fan favorites out there. It's obviously on the album New Jersey. Um,
yeah.
and just to kind of give a little bit of a back view on this, this was written by Desmond Child, John Ritchie, and a lady named Diane Warren. Um, I want to go back just before we dig into the song. I want to talk about New Jersey as a whole. I've always said that, with the debut in 7800, they were a band just trying to make it, trying to make it big, trying to find their sound, what worked, what didn't work.
Mm,
And with Slippery, it was this is your last basically this is your last chance. It's a make it or break it album. And obviously we know Slippery is one of the biggest albums of all time. It's the band's biggest album, and it goes without saying it's just a phenomenal album. but with New Jersey, they, obviously with Slippery, they made it big. They became headliners and they had this huge tour. But with New Jersey, they had to go back into that studio and prove that they weren't just one hit wonders, that they could do it again. Obviously, they did. I mean, New Jersey was this phenomenal album. It was a hit breaking album, huge tour that followed it. And so they really did prove themselves. And I think if you listen to New Jersey, especially, it's so different than any other album that bands were doing at the time. And the song that we're about to talk about, "Why Does the Wind," that song was really different than what any other band was doing. And we're gonna get into talking about it musically and lyrically and meaning and all that stuff. But before we get into it, why is it your favorite song?
Once again, it's not a well-known song, because people know the hits, and it's a song I felt they stretched out on musically, with that intro from Richie on guitar, and then it goes into this, then it builds up and it hits the chorus, and it gets more powerful. That's what I love about it, And it's
Yeah,
not a fast song, it's not a slow song, it's kind of mid-tempo, you know what I mean? And then that killer guitar solo from Richie.
yeah,
Then it comes
that's
back into the chorus and gets powerful again, and right, it flows along right till the end. I just think it was, and then once again, it didn't sound like any other band of the time.
exactly.
That made them stand out. That album musically, with other songs like "Blood on Blood" and "Lay Your
Absolutely.
Hands on Me," and that album, it wasn't a carbon copy of "Slippery." They did stretch. You know what I mean? The songs were a bit longer, and you know, uh,
Exactly. I agree with you, man.
yeah,
I want to talk about the song lyrically because I think it's one of the best songs lyrically on New Jersey. And w when I listen to it, what I take from it as far as a meaning standpoint is I think it's being self-reflective and thinking you may not be good enough for I think it's a very complex relationship that the person is in. Um, I think it's feeling like you're not enough for somebody. It's that you're being taken away on this irresistible force of love. It's you can't control the emotions or desire, and it's with saying all that, it's realizing there's so many complexities in this relationship, and you have to let go. And maybe this is just me thinking it, but I also think too, because obviously with John and Dorothea, John's wife, they broke up in 85 and then, they were without each other 85, 86. And obviously we know they eventually got married in 80, 88. Um, but I also think that maybe he was talking about Dorothea in some part of this, because of him, being taken out of New Jersey and being
yeah,
this global star and
that's right around the world.
wild as the wind. And so I
Yeah.
think there's just a touch of that in the song. But like I said, I think it's, that opening line, "I tried to make you happy, Lord knows that I've tried to be." I think that's trying your hardest and striving your hardest to make someone happy.
Mm,
And despite all that you're doing and your best efforts, it's not enough. And your
mm,
intentions are good, but you're not being the best that you can be to that person for whatever reason you want. Um, but since we're talking about that opening line, you mentioned it earlier, and I kind of want to dig into. And I know that I'm talking so much about this song, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love the. This is probably one of the greatest Bon Jovi songs as far as a buildup goes. You like you said earlier, you have that fun, probably 45-second, guitar intro that Richie's playing, and then it slowly fades into the song, and then John kind
Mm,
of comes in a very nice vocal register.
yeah.
"I tried to make you happy. Lord knows that I've tried to be," and so on. But then I love the way that it builds. I tried to, or I couldn't be the one to make our dreams come true. That's why I had to run, although I needed you. And then it goes into that chorus, and we'll get into the choruses here in just a second. But what I love is that it picks up into that chorus and then has that chorus outro, and then it fades back down, has that verse back into the chorus. And so it like it was saying, it has that roller coaster
Yeah.
of
Mm,
picking you
yeah.
up, taking you down, it
Yeah.
has that
Yeah.
roller coaster of
Yeah.
emotions for the whole song.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's probably really brilliant musically of this song. Um, let's get into the choruses. Was there anything you want to say about the
No, I think Jerry, you're covering everything really. Yeah, no, you're kind of
can can
no.
can you can you tell that I'm excited about talking about this
Oh,
song?
absolutely, of course I can.
As,
Absolutely.
as soon as you told me you wanted to talk about Waters the Wind, I'm like, yes, I can talk about that song.
Yeah,
Let's get into the choruses because I think the choruses are awesome as well.
yeah.
So in the first chorus, at the end that blows through my heart, and then it goes into I'll call it a chorus outro, and then they kind of repeat "What is the wind?" You got to understand what is the wind, and it goes in the second verse. But what I love about the second verse was that they actually continue it with that blows through my heart tonight and tears us apart. Then it goes into the chorus outro. I think the way that John sings tonight, it kind of hits you in the heart a little bit, makes you really feel the lyric and the song
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and this kind of goes back to my point I wanted to make earlier that a lot of bands they were a lot of bands were kind of I don't want to say lazy because that's not the right word. They worked hard in the studio, but a lot of bands would just record that chorus one time,
Mm.
done.
That's
But
it.
Bon Jovi, John, they went in and they added that little extra for the song, and I think that took the
Mm.
song to another dynamic,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think it's just brilliant. And then it goes into the Richie solo, which is
yeah,
I love all the bends that he does on
yeah.
that solo. Any people that play guitar, they know what I'm talking about. Do you play
Yes.
guitar?
I don't know. I have to admit, one of my
Yeah,
best friends, actually, Stephen, he plays guitar.
yeah,
So he's a big, he has one of kind of Eddie Van Halen's custom guitars. So,
yeah.
um,
So
and his friend Simon, actually, he's a good guitarist as well, too. His other friend is a good friend of mine now as well. So,
I
yeah, the two of them, they're kind of put a band together at the moment. So,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so like the way that Richie does some notes and on that, it's phenomenal. And then I guess we'll lead into one of my other favorite parts of this song. Maybe a better man would live and die for you. A better man would never say goodbye to you. And then the way that John and Richie come together and sing "Baby," and then they
mm,
go,
yeah,
"Wow, wild is the wind." I just that it when I was a kid and I first got that album, that was the part that really pulled me in.
yeah,
That was the one part of the song that I could not wait to hear because I just
mm,
loved
yeah,
it. It still gives me goosebumps sometimes when I
yeah,
listen to it.
yeah,
It's just that special John and Richie um chemistry.
yeah.
You know,
I do agree with that. Yeah,
it kind of goes back to what I was talking about with this song too. I think it's that self-reflection of wanting to be a better version of yourself for your significant other and realizing the mistakes that you've made and want to be better. And yeah, I think
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
self-reflection there, honestly,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
And then we get into that final chorus, and then I think another great addition to the song is the outro. With Richie's outro solo, and
yeah,
then you hear John just like kind of like pouring his heart out with "Oh yeah, 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 yeah," and
yeah,
then John goes, "I gotta run, just let me go. I gotta
yeah,
run,
yeah,
let me
yeah.
go," and the song fades
No,
out.
absolutely. Yeah,
It kind of like a cowboyish, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
gotta go, kind of thing. Um, it's just I know I did a lot of talking because I had so much excitement and stuff, but
yeah.
is there any key points in the song that you really enjoy that or that really
Uh,
stand out for
hmm.
you? I know you mentioned earlier Richie's solo.
It'd be the chorus and the guitar solo. When it picks up and gets more up tempo, it gets a bit more powerful. I think
Yeah,
for me. And I did
yeah.
get to hear it live the very first night. In '88 in the RDS, first night in New Jersey. It's the only time I was ever played live of all the shows, the 17 shows they played, which I've been to every one of them since '88. You know what I mean? When they did two nights, I made sure I was going. I went to the second night. So
Yeah,
that's the only time I was ever in the set. You know,
yeah. And side note there, I've always wanted to see the band in Dublin.
yeah,
Some of the best shows that they've done were in Dublin, and it's so cool that you've gotten to see. The only time that Waters of the Wind was played was in '88 in Dublin,
that's right in Dublin.
and
Yeah,
you got to see it. Um,
yeah,
Yeah, and that kind of goes into my next thing I want to talk about. Is like there's so many great live performances, and like unfortunately, recently in recent years, we haven't gotten to see the song live as much.
No.
But a few key shows I really think that we should just mention. Osaka in 1991, which I think was the New Year's Eve show.
That's
Um,
right. Yeah.
London 2010, and then Seabrug 2011. I think those are like three of my favorite performances of that
Mm.
song. And obviously, there's been other great ones, but those three, like Osaka, John's vocals were just really
Yeah.
good.
He was on
And
top form at that stage after the Blaze of Glory album. He could see there's something really big coming. You know what I mean? You
absolutely.
know, that's just before he cut his hair. His hair was still. I thought he looked very well at that time because I have the photos from the Kerrang magazine. I thought his hair looked really well, but he had nice kind of blonde in it at the time. I thought he looked. Um, he kind of looked more like he did from the first or second album. I thought his hair was kind of more similar to that style. You know.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing I really loved about these earlier performances was, well, even the later ones, the John and Richie chemistry,
Mm,
I thought was great. And if you watch the earlier, maybe this is just me talking, but if you
mm,
watch the earlier performances like the New Jersey tour and some of the 90s when they performed Wild as the Wind, Richie wasn't as heavily heard vocally. And I think, even some beginning of the Crush tour, I think Richie's mic was a little higher because you could hear him more in the
mm.
chorus
Yeah,
and stuff like that vocally. And I think that just made the song even greater.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
that perfect
definitely.
John and Richie chemistry.
Yeah,
Um,
but sadly is missing now. I mean,
I know, and
yeah.
and
Although
I don't
Phil
think
X is
Phil
a
X
good
was
singer, to be fair, he's a very good singer, Phil
right.
X.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I don't think we've seen this song live since 2013
I think you're right. Yeah, no, it wasn't in this House is Not for Sale tour, or
or
I
Burning
don't think What
Bridges.
About Now tour. No, would have been played live on that tour.
It
Or,
was
was
it,
it?
yeah,
I
because
think
they
Phil
were.
X gave an interview there I saw a few days ago where he was at he learned that John asked him to learn it, but I'm not sure if they actually played it live on any show.
I think they did. And
Yeah, they
I,
may have. You could be right.
what's so great about the internet, buddy, is that
Mm,
we on the tip of our fingers we could find out because
mm,
I'm actually curious when the last time that they played it was.
yeah.
So let's see here because I think the story goes that John wanted to a fan had it up and John wanted to play it that night, but
Yeah,
Phil didn't know the song well, so Phil
yeah,
had to learn it that night. Played it the next
yeah.
day. Yes, they played it in Cologne, Germany.
Wow.
Um,
2013.
yeah, they played it a few times. And then
Wow.
obviously they did it with Richie. They
Yeah,
played it in the American leg,
yeah,
Montreal. Yeah, so it was played quite a bit.
yeah. That's
Uh,
good.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to mention too is I love the flow of the album with What is the Wind. You have What is the Wind, and then the way that it fades out, then you go into this mono part of Ride Cowboy Ride, and then it picks you back up and a stick to your guns, and I think that's just such a great flow
I'll be
of
there for you in 99 in the shade. And it finishes off with something very different for them. Love for Sale, which is a very bluesy jam,
yeah,
which John said at the time in the interview in Ireland when he played the day before he was on Irish TV, that was just a jamming session. They left it like that. They didn't go back and do it again, that it was perfect. It was like a one take. Love for
really.
Sale. Like, yeah, that's what he said, that interview on this program.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he
Wow.
said that
For Ride Cowboy Ride.
no, love for sale.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant for Ride Cowboy Ride.
No, not that. No, love for sale. He said that so
Wow.
we have to do this again. He says, no, it's perfect. We don't need to go in and do it again. He said
Yeah.
we captured the.
Yeah. And you know what? I think you listen to that song, it does seem like it does have because they go in and just play it and then
Mm,
I think John
yeah,
at the end goes, yeah, I gotta go. Your record's
yeah.
basically finished kind of thing.
Yeah, correct.
And I think it captured the band as a chemistry that they could just go in and play a song and get out,
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a great way to close the album. That and with Keep the Faith, a little bit of soul here in America.
Yeah.
Those type of songs just come in and play and
Yeah. Mm,
one take. That's awesome.
yeah.
I know that I did a lot of talking on this song, and
Yeah.
I don't want to pull anything away from you that you wanted. Was there anything that you wanted to bring up and talk about the
Um,
song or
no, I think you said something there, Jerry, in one of your earlier podcasts. Did you say there's a possibility of a deluxe version of Slippery When Wet coming out? Was there a
there?
rumor of that?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. So obviously the band did a um debut release. I haven't heard anything official, but I know
Yeah.
that the band they released the 40th anniversary of the debut. The CD came out deluxe.
Yeah.
But there's a few websites that were saying that you could pre-order. There's a French website, but
Mm,
nothing's been announced by the band. So as
yeah.
of now, nothing's official.
Yeah.
Just
Because I'm just thinking with the outtakes, there was a few outtakes from that album. I remember I had them on a
um,
bootleg CD I picked up years ago. Like
yeah,
Too Much Too Soon is one of the songs, I think. There was a few definitely outtakes. I wonder
yeah,
what happened to them songs. Are they
yeah.
still
It's
Borderline, of course, which never made it to CD, of course,
right.
just it was on the vinyl of Bad Name, on the 12-inch.
Yeah. Honestly though, like last year with the 40th anniversary, it was appropriate to put out a deluxe edition of the debut. I think it would make more sense to do a deluxe edition of 7800 and
Yeah.
do Slippery next year. Or, we
Uh,
even
yeah.
have anniversary of Blaze of Glory, these days, 25 years of Crush. I'd like to see box sets or deluxe editions of those albums and kind of do something really special for Slippery next year.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be a
Um,
good. I do agree. I do agree. Yeah.
yeah. So hey, we'll see. Nothing's official right now, so
No,
we'll
no.
we'll see.
And there's no
But
words yet about John touring, or that's still things are all quiet on that front.
quiet, quiet, quiet,
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess we just wait and see, man.
Yeah. He's waiting to see how his voice is because he wants to
Yeah.
give it his 100%, which he's
I,
always given.
yeah, I'll tell you this. I don't care when, where,
Yeah.
I will be at those shows.
Yeah.
If they announce
He'll
a
do it. No,
tour,
he will eventually do it. It's just a matter of time.
yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Anyway, buddy, stay on. We're gonna chat after I do this recording,
Yeah.
but I want to take a
Yeah.
second just to say thank you
That's a
for
pleasure, Jerry. I
your
was always
sending.
looking forward to it because again, it was Robert Green put me out,
Yeah,
told me about you. So
yeah, Robert's a great guy. Shout out to Robert if he's
I
listening
will
out.
do because I've told them, and I'll be messaging them now after, so I'll
Yeah,
send them a message. So
yeah. It's funny too. Robert and I, we've been friends for a while, and like we've never met, but I've been in New York City is my favorite place in the world. And then every time I
yeah,
go to New York City, we try to meet up, and it never
yeah,
works out.
yeah. But
So
it will happen. Believe
yeah,
me,
it
it
will.
will
Yeah.
happen.
Anyway, buddy, I want to say thank you for taking the time of your day to come on.
Oh no, it was a
And
pleasure. I was really looking forward to it.
yeah, and I apologize that I, I took a lot of the mic time on top. I just
Oh
had so
no,
much I wanted to say.
no, it
Um,
was really good, and I was
yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, I'm gonna end the recording. Stay on.
yeah,
Thanks again,
yeah,
buddy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.